guiding light it giveth, between 2100 hours.
Dramatic pause. Take a breath. Give it some light and shade.
Hello and welcome to Haunting Button House, a BBC Ghost podcast, a podcast recapping and reviewing the BBC series Ghosts. I'm Luke.
And I'm Tash. And
I'm full of the lurgy, if you can't hear it.
I should have worn a mask because you're going to give me the lurgy.
Probably, yeah.
Don't breathe.
This is going to be a short podcast then, as I keel over.
Just don't breathe near me.
Yeah, if my voice sounds weird, I've got some kind of cold, but I'm not sure.
Some kind of, the common cold is what you've got.
Yeah.
Or man
flu. The man flu, yeah. But anyway, I'll soldier on. But anyway, how are you? How's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. We haven't really done much this week, have we?
No, not really, yeah.
Just, well, you've had a busy end of the week last week.
Yeah,
I've not done much.
Driving to Nottingham again, but yeah, we'll leave it at that.
So we did have a little bit of feedback from the last episode. So Caroline says that she disagrees, seems like a hard word, but kind of disagrees that she doesn't feel like the last episode was just a rerun of the Builders episode. So I thought that was quite interesting, like a completely new take. So yeah, I can't remember. Did you feel like it was a rerun of the episode? Or?
Not so much like rerun, but I felt like it was like that similar format.
The same format. Yeah, same. Yeah. And as she said as well, like we learn a bit more about the ghosts and what their knowledge of different things are. So yeah, it's like an interesting, like, to hear other people's opinions of the episode too. And also Caroline informed us that Sweep is a boy and Sooty is a boy and Sue is a girl.
Well, now we know.
Now we know. I just can't. I think it's the squeak of like. I hope our Instagram followers enjoyed the clip that we found of Sweep's little legs plummeting through the ceiling. Whenever I feel sad, that is just the clip that I think of the little...
When really, it's just somebody's fingers.
I know. Is it though? Or it could be like little sticks or
well, yeah, maybe, yeah.
So, yeah. So.
Any more feedback or...
No.
Oh, okay.
Give us feedback.
Not that I'm fishing for any then, I was just wondering. I didn't want to talk over anybody.
No, that's all good, I think. Should we get on with the episode?
So this week we're looking at episode 5, entitled Moonah Ston, which is just Moonstone in Robin dialect, I suppose. It was directed by Tom Kingsley again, and written by Martha Howe Douglas and Lawrence Ricardo. I think this is the first time Fanny's written an episode, isn't it? The original air date was the 13th of May 2019, and we start the episode and we see Alison and Mike are Alison's putting some or changing the locks or fixing the locks on the doors, and Mike also mentions that he's finished sealing the windows as well. So they sort of, to celebrate, Mike gets a bottle of champagne out. As he opens it, the cork immediately breaks through the door and the pigeon flies back in. They mention that they were saving that for the woodworm treatment, and Alison sort of mentions that they probably should have saved it for the woodworm. And then that's pretty much the opening scene, isn't it?
Yeah. I like how when the pigeon's there, he kind of does a little poo.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, this is my home.
a quite CGI'd poo as well, but I mean, well, you can't really get a pigeon to poo on command, I guess.
No.
So yeah, then we get the intro, and later when they're fixing up the door again, they mention as well, I missed a bit where they say, what shall we, maybe we should celebrate, but as she's about to say that, Alison says maybe get a carbon monoxide alarm because they've sealed all the windows. Quite maybe forward thinking with the amount of problems that they've had in the house. So but anyway, yeah, so after the intro, we see as they're fixing the door, we see a bunch of dogs just run through the open door. Who's followed by the owner screaming bitches, who we find out is Barclay Beg-Chetwynde. Chetwynde. Chetwynde, yeah, that's his full name, isn't it? Who is
I didn't write his full name down.
who is their neighbour, and he arrives to discuss basically access to the house.
He's their neighbour, but he lives a mile away.
Yes, yeah. Immediately sets the tone for what type of person he is by complaining to the dog's women, and I thought, him and Julian would probably get on. Is what I noted here. Far from it, which is sort of a sign of things to come. We see one of his dogs is barking at Robin, who's trying to talk back to him.
What you say?
Tally! Tally!
Must have seen a ghost. Ah, didn't you know? This place absolutely riddled with them. So legend has it, there's a lady falls from a window in the West Wing.
East Wing.
Dressed in white.
Grey.
Georgian.
Edwardian.
Attractive, early 20s. And a strange creature that roams the grounds, half man, half ape.
So I guess that kind of comes back to my theory that animals can like sense things that humans can't, because obviously the dog
Can see.
we don't know if we can't ask the dog, but we don't know if the dog can actually see Robin or whether they just sense a presence in the space that makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, we also see Pat interacting with the dog as well later on.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, whether he's sort of sensing a person there or just a thing. I don't know.
A presence.
Yeah. But yeah, I made a note of this as well, that dogs, and you have to assume other animals. Well, I mean, Robin even says it. Bears interact with them. So, but anyway, yeah. So we see. Barclay, he apologises to Alison and Mike that the dogs are in the house. And he also remarks that the house is supposed to be haunted. He said it's riddled with ghosts, as we then cut to see all the ghosts standing behind him. We also, he starts describing some of the ghosts in the house and is corrected by Fanny at every instance, where he says it's in the West Wing, she says the East Wing's wearing white, she says wearing grey. He says Georgian, she says Edwardian, and then he says he's also very attractive, and she kind of just stays quiet.
In her early 20s.
Yeah. He also said there's a half man, half ape creature, to which they all turn around and start looking at Robin, and he's not really sure why they're doing that. Julian then pops up and starts explaining who this person is, and he says he loves to hear the sound of his own voice, which it just shows you how insufferable Barclay must be if even Julian thinks you're tiresome. There's also a note here that I got from I'll be honest, I got it from IMDb. When Barclay's first introduced, Julian says he's rich as Crassus. Simon Farnaby played Crassus in several segments of Horrible History, so
interesting.
All comes full circle. As Julian starts to sort of explain how he met him, he starts explaining that he met him at a Tory party, I suppose, here. And he starts telling a story about Bruce Forsyth, as they all kind of get tired of his anecdote, which he sort of mentions that he's trying to tell an anecdote, and they all wander off. Barclay then explains how the land right in front of their house that they use to sort of cross and get into the house actually belongs to him. And he says that maybe they could come to some kind of arrangement. Alison agrees that they should have dinner pretty much straight away. And Mike, a bit confused at this, as they sort of as he lets him out, he's like, "Why he's awful? Why would you want to have dinner with him?" She says, "I want to get a bit closer to the poshos," is what she says. But anyway, he accepts dinner, and that's all set for later this evening.
We see Pat then petting one of the dogs.
Yes, which is making him sick, but giving them that sick feeling.
Worth it.
Yeah, which to be fair,
be worth it. Yeah.
I think everybody would be the same there.
I think when the dog puts his head like into Pat's body, though, he's like, "No."
Do you reckon
that's too much?
Do you reckon that's like an ad lib? Like they didn't get the dog to do that. The dog just put his head forward, so they just worked that into
Yeah,
it,
maybe, because otherwise... Although, they would have had to film it separately.
I reckon they probably had somebody there standing in initially
Yeah.
and then swapped it out for like green screen or something. I don't know.
Maybe the person was wearing one of them morphs.
Green morph suit, yeah, maybe. That's probably how they did it, actually. So we then see one of the dogs barking at the moon in the sort of later on. And Robin starts to remember something as he's playing chess with Julian and starts doing a charade of it, basically, to which Julian thinks and is pretty certain that it's Tootsie that he's trying to mime out. But eventually,
What is Tootsie? I don't
have
even
no
know.
idea. Yeah, I'm not sure. I should have googled what Tootsie is, but yeah, I'm not sure.
I was like, is it film?
I assume so. Yeah,
I don't know. Never heard of it before.
yeah. But anyway, he's convinced that's what it is. But Robin, through the charade, basically explains that it's a lunar eclipse and that's what's going to happen. And they all talk about how they've done these moon, or as he calls it, Moonah Ston rituals before. And the captain basically says that that he'll recite the words for this, to which Thomas is quite incessant that's not the way things are done. He always does this. But they have put it to a vote and everyone seems completely indifferent. I think Mary asks if there's a third option.
Yeah.
I also like that there's a part in this as well where Robin's way of speaking sort of infects Thomas's way.
Yeah, that's what I put too.
He can't ask for much.
Hey, me speak good.
Well, me speak well.
I'm not actually free tonight, but I could do Thursday.
No, Clips, it's nice.
All right. We'll do it, provided I can do the reading.
Not a chance, sir. Me always do the reading.
In the kitchen, we see, I think he's in the kitchen anyway, Alison and Mike, because they're looking at what they can cook for the dinner party.
Yeah.
They open the fridge and they find that there's some frozen lasagna and a packet of peas, is it? Frozen peas? So they consult Fanny on what rich people eat. They go through a list of things. I can't remember what exactly it is, but she says, what was it? Turtle soup.
Turtle soup.
Yeah.
And oyster rissoles.
Rissole.
And Mike says, you don't like shellfish and I'm not eating anything to rissole.
Yeah. Which I thought was quite a funny line.
That's quite good, yeah.
But then Fanny says pheasant, and they sort of go, that's maybe not a bad idea. Realising then that they need to hunt a pheasant. So, guided by the captain, they go out to hunt a pheasant. Mike is sort of shooting it because he apparently lost the toss. And the captain is sort of guiding Alison on where to aim and fire. Manages to shoot the pheasant, kill it, and then I can't remember exactly what he says, but the captain says to him something about him. He'd be able to shoot. It's like a wartime phrase.
Yeah, I have written it down, but then Alison says it's something racist.
It's something you would say like in World War II. Like
he says, I'll say it and then you can cut it if... She says... Well, sorry, the captain says, we'll have him out boshing Jerry in no time.
Jerry's a name for German in World War II. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, like, technically not racist, but kind of offensive these days if you're talking about shooting Germans.
If you're
Yeah.
German.
But anyway, they go back home and they decide to, after they've hunted this pheasant, they need to prepare it. Mary's given us sort of a beginner's course on how to prepare a pheasant. She says that you need to remove the gizzard, or the gizzards, which Mary doesn't think you need to.
Alison doesn't think you need to.
Alison doesn't.
This is grim. Why did I have to pluck it?
In the oven for 20 minutes.
No, you have to degloves the gizzards.
Well, it doesn't say that here, and no offence, Mary, but I trust the book more than you. Oh, my God.
Gizzards?
Oh. Right. You're in charge of the pheasant. Call me when it looks done.
Done.
Okay, I'm going to change into... What do posh people wear?
Crowns?
I'm asking the wrong person.
Oh, yeah.
Oof, that smells gamey.
As we kind of see after this, the gizzard it goes everywhere, basically.
Down Alison's jumper.
Yeah.
Mike's heaving, and I'm pretty sure that would be me, because it doesn't take much for me to heave.
Yeah, I've never had to, like, pluck and, like, completely...
I think it would smell
Don't know
really
what.
bad.
Yeah, I don't know what the word is.
Have you seen, like, when you buy, like, a chicken and it's got, like, the giblets inside?
I've never had to do a chicken.
No, like, they come in a little bag like, to make, like, decent gravy.
Yeah. No.
Like, you get the neck.
Yeah. It's
horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had to. The older I get, the more I'm like, maybe I should, like, cut back on animals, I suppose. Anyway, this would probably put you off it. I think maybe that's the plan, is everybody, you have to go and hunt your own food again. Everyone's like, do you know what? Vegetables for me. They're too late, and Mike mentions that the gizzard smells. Is it Mike or Alison? Smells gamey. She says,
Alison says
it is
that, yeah.
Alison. So Alison prepares all this and then leaves Mary in charge to supervise the pheasant, and goes off to decide what she's going to wear. She said, just let her know when it's done. So we see the ghosts then planning their moon ritual. They start sort of laying out stones and stuff, to which somebody said, it looks like Stonehenge, which Robin is really angry about, saying that Stonehenge copied them in a Robin sort of way. And we find that the ritual site that they're planning, and where they're actually planning this ritual, is going to be on the exact location of where their dinner table is for the evening. So kind of setting up what's exactly going to happen in sort of 5 minutes' time.
Yeah.
We then see what Alison has settled on wearing, and it's quite a fancy black dress.
It's like a reddy burgundy, isn't it?
Is it? I thought it was black, but yeah, it might have been like a dark red or whatever. She's also wearing a pearl necklace, and she's a bit surprised at what Mike is wearing, because he's just wearing a red shirt, basically, t-shirt at that. And Alison is trying to pass off information at this point. So she's talking about how you need to dress for a dinner party, and it's basically Alison just repeating it all back to her, and she's just reeling it off. And Mike is quite savvy to this now. He's already cottoned on that that's exactly what's happening.
I think you mean Fanny.
Fanny, what did I say?
You said Alison was relaying it back to Alison. So Fanny was telling Alison why she should be wearing the dress.
That's what I had written down.
That's not what came out of your mouth, though.
Again.
That's fine. He tells her that she looks like Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And then... Mike tells her that she looks like Downton Abbey, and then she says, Abby's not a character, Mike.
Yeah, which to be honest, until about 3 years ago, I wouldn't have known that Downton Abbey's not a character, so...
Yes, you would.
Maybe I would not.
I've
not watched any of it, so... I mean, I've still not watched any of it, so... But I know.
That's good, you should watch it.
But they make a compromise, basically. He says he'll change and put on a shirt if she takes off the pearl necklace, which she agrees to. We then see Barclay and his wife Bunny arrive at the house. Bunny is the perfect match for Barclay. Also,
I just have a point to make. Can we just point out that Bunny is Ben Mitchell's abuser?
It was as well, and she's also in 4 Weddings as well, isn't she?
She is.
Yeah. I forgot it was Ben Mitchell's abuser.
Stella.
Yeah. Stella, yeah.
I was like, oh, it's Stella. I can't remember her surname. She didn't marry Phil in the end. She had a difficult end. But anyway,
as people tend to in EastEnders. We meet Bunny, and Bunny is basically Barclay's perfect of a half. She's just as
drunk.
Pretty much immediately. Yeah. They sort of invite them in, give them a tour around the house, and before they do this, Barclay hands Alison a bottle of wine, what you assume is quite an expensive bottle of wine. What does he say it's called now? It begins with a P, because he mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
And
I remember when he said it, I thought of what's that dish that's like spaghetti with a piece of fried chicken with tomato?
I have no idea. I want to say it's like parvanda, but I'm not even sure.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. That's the wine anyway. I don't know what the pasta dish is.
Yeah. What's bastard? Oh, I'm not going to Google it. Anyway.
Maybe it would have been. But yeah, in this case, it's a bottle of expensive red wine, which he hands to Alison. And Alison, forgetting that Kitty is not a ghost, hands it to Kitty to sort of look at. But if you can't see the ghosts, it looks like she immediately drops it on the floor. Yeah. Mike, fairly quickly, I'll give him his credit here, sort of mentions that Alison's recently had a head injury. So this is probably just part of that trauma. And starts getting distracted by the pigeon that's made its way into the house again. I also noted that Alison as well, quite quick into this, starts like stumbling. I mean, it's rich for me saying this, stumbling over her words. Like after she's just said that he's had a head injury, she sort of mixes her words up and stuff. I don't know, to try and like sell this. It seemed like that, and it seemed quite clever of them to jump into that excuse, I guess. But anyway, they have their dinner party, and which seems to be going well, apart from Lady Button, who is criticising everything that Alison does, essentially. When she talks, the way she uses a spoon, is it? And
she tells Alison to stop talking. Stop talking with her mouth full.
That's it, yeah.
So she kind of stops what she's saying and chews for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And then continues. And then she drops her spoon when Fanny shouts at her elbows.
Yeah,
she's got her elbows on the table.
Elbows on the table. I have heard of that one before, in fairness. Elbows on the table. I'd never follow it, though. While this is happening, the smoke alarm goes off. And Kitty tries, because she's sat in pretending she's part of this dinner party.
She's just desperate for attention.
She is, yeah. Especially when only one person can give them the attention as well. But yeah, so Kitty decides that she's going to try to be louder than the smoke alarm and starts shouting me.
Mike also confirms that to Barclay that they're looking to make the house a hotel.
Yes, yeah.
So it kind of, I guess he's then thinking,
could get some money out of them. Yeah, yeah. I forgot to note that, but yeah. He mentioned this about the hotel. So the fire alarm starts going off, and Alison goes to check on what's causing it, and we find that Mary has basically let the pheasant burn to smithereens, essentially. Is that a phrase? Burn to smithereens? No, that's not a word.
Smashed.
Burn to a cinder, that's it, yeah. Burn to a cinder.
Smashed to smithereens.
Yeah.
Like breadstick in a blender. I was going to say something, and then it just left my head. What the hell?
Something about Mary?
I was going to say, Alison did leave Mary to look after the food.
Yes.
What was she expecting her to do?
I mean,
even if it was burning, what's Mary supposed to do? Go and get her, I guess.
I guess she could stick her head in the oven.
I mean, she's had enough of that.
I know, yeah, probably. It's a bit traumatising, really, to leave her in charge.
Well, she does say later on that she can always smell burning.
Which is why she doesn't realise that it's been burning.
Yeah.
Mary, didn't you smell burning?
I always smells burning.
Would you eat that?
Well, I hasn't eaten in 400 years. But no.
I like how Alison tries to salvage the pheasant by moving it into a different pan and then putting... I mean, I thought it was a tin of beans, but I think it's like soup.
A vegetable soup, I think, yeah.
Over the top of it and just sticking it on the hob. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what she was expecting to happen,
not
to
really,
be fair.
No.
But, I mean, it doesn't go down very well, does it?
No. So, yeah, she says that it's going to be pheasant stew and asks Mary to let her know when it's reduced.
I mean, it didn't go well the first time.
No. She's really clutching at straws on this one. She returns to the dinner party, and as she does this, the ghosts decide to start their moon ritual, which is incredibly noisy because it involves chanting, dancing, and shouting all around the library where they're having their dinner party. While this is happening, we see Robin to add to sort of the effect of the ritual, starts affecting the lights and starts making them flicker. And Alison says that maybe Mike should go because she's Bunny is trying to talk to her and she just cannot hear a word she's saying because the ghosts are just drowning her out. So Alison says that maybe Mike should go and show them the fuse box just to get them out of the room, essentially. When they've all gone, Alison kind of says, "What the hell is all this?" And they try to explain what it is, and it's the moon ritual. And they mention that the captain says that Robin deserves respect. You know, he's been here all this time, and as soon as Robin goes to say something, he tells him to shut up. So immediately overruling himself. Alison is not happy about this and thinks of a plan on the spot. She goes to another room, comes back with what we know as a DVD, but the ghosts are all entranced basically by the shining colours and light that's coming from it.
I like how Julian calls it, that's a compact disc.
Yes, yeah. It's funny, he always knows roughly what it is, but not
never
exactly.
quite exactly the same. I guess he just sort of missed the DVD explosion.
Pretty much, yeah, because he was died in 93, did they say?
Yeah, so definitely well into the VHS at that point, weren't
Pretty
we?
much, yeah. So yeah, she sort of leads them all away with this disc, and Robin looks a bit disappointed that his moon ritual's been scuppered. We see in the cellar, Mike is talking to Barclay, trying to just stall for time essentially by talking to him about the fuse box. And he says there's nothing special down here, and then we see the plague ghosts in the background go, "Oh, charming." I can't remember exactly what he says in this one. But so while this is happening, we see Barclay starts talking to Mike about the access rights to the front of the house. And says, "Oh, maybe we should just settle it." You know, he said they had a gentleman's agreement. The people who had it before, so maybe this time we'll just formalise it if they want to do a hotel. And he says, "Oh, how about 20?" To which Mike thinks it's £20. Bargain. Shakes on it, and then he says, "Oh, do you know what? We'll call it 19,500. You know, as we're friends." So he meant 20 grand. So yeah, Mike kind of realises he's been stitched up at this moment. In the other part of the house, we see that Alison, the DVD that she's got and that she's introducing them to, is Friends, or a Friends box set. They start watching it, and they comment now how they don't really understand the appeal. What's so great about it? It's just 5 people being sat round on a sofa. As we pan out and see just them sat on the sofa. And there's also a joke before this as well. She's trying to explain what Friends is. She says it's a comedy. And Thomas says, like Vanity Fair? And she says, no, that's a magazine. But yeah, as they're watching it, in typical Thomas fashion, he sees Rachel, or what we assume is Rachel, as he starts talking about her hair. And he becomes immediately infatuated with her, much like many people in the 90s, I imagine. We then see Mary basically come to Alison and tell her that she thinks the stew's now reduced. But when we see it, it's
very much too burnt.
Yeah, it's essentially a solid at this point. So they decide to call it quits and serve them the frozen lasagna, which Barclay seems to enjoy. He says it's quite nice.
He says, "How do you get it so square?" I can only imagine that they cut it frozen.
Maybe, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Because I was trying to think, how would they make it so square? But yeah, I think they cut it frozen and then cooked the individual pieces. Squares individually.
No, that's not a bad idea. I didn't think of that. Yeah, I just thought they just banged it in the microwave and then however they did it. Yeah. So while they're finishing their dinner, Barclay then suggests that they play a game of poker, which Alison isn't sold on, and then Mike is like, he says that he's a player, to which Alison says, "I'm not sure you are, Mike." She goes to get a drink, and in the sort of less than a minute that it takes her to get a drink and come back, apparently Mike has already lost £100. So yeah, we kind of see that this Barclay's either a card shark or a bit of a cheat, one of the two. But Alison has an idea. She, realising that she has some ghostly help, decides she could get Barclay to bet what he's already said, so there's 20 grand and double or nothing, basically, that she'll pay 40 grand, or if she wins, they'll sign it over for free. Alison goes to get some help from the ghosts, who she's kind of...
made a rod for her own back.
Yeah, basically, as the ghosts are all now absolutely addicted to Friends.
Who isn't?
Well, yeah. I like that they all start deciding which of the friends they are.
Everybody does that, don't they?
And I like how all of the men want to be Chandler, which is what everybody always says. Every bloke who watches Friends is like, oh, I'm definitely Chandler. No one wants to be Ross.
No, I did put who I thought would be who. So I thought Kitty would be Phoebe.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And then I agreed that Fanny would be Monica.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I put the captain as maybe Ross.
Yeah. Either the captain or Thomas, because Thomas is quite lovelorn.
See, I wasn't sure about Thomas as Joey.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I mean, he tries it later, so yeah.
And then maybe Pat as Chandler.
Yeah.
I don't know, because he's quite funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I just noted here, actually, we really haven't seen much of Humphrey in this episode.
No, we in quite a lot of the episodes, I think, we don't see Humphrey that much.
No, like we've not... I think we see his body maybe once or twice,
Yeah.
but I don't think we ever see his head.
No. It's very much just a visual joke, isn't it? Right in the first series, yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, what goes to my missing, like, if I go through, like, the 6. And I was like, oh, yeah, like, there's someone who's definitely missing here, so yeah.
We then see Robin as well, who's singing a song about the moon.
There'll be a light in the dark.
Robin? We're watching Friends here, mate.
So Alison comes back in and asks the ghosts for help with the poker game. And I like how the captain says, you cannot banish us with one breath and demand our reinforcements with the next.
Yeah. Which is fair, to be honest. Like, she wanted to get rid of him just, and now she wants the help, so I think it's fair.
So the ghosts don't really want to help her. So she has to ask Mary for help.
Which,
I mean, that was never going to end well, was it?
The 2 instances she's asked for help so far have gone so well, so it's surprising. But then again, she's got nobody to help her. So Mary does take a look and tells Barclay what cards he has. But in a very Mary way, as we realise that she can't play cards and she can't really read or tell numbers. So she kind of tries to describe the cards. Did you have any clue as to what cards he has from her description?
No.
One I can only assume is a 9, because she said it looks like a loaf of bread with a stick on it. So I assume maybe a 6, a 9 or a 6, but
stick on it.
That's the only number I can think of. But what suit? I have no idea.
No, I think even with the help of the ghosts, if they were to help her, Barclay's a bit slimy. I feel like he would cheat.
I mean, possibly, but also then again, how do you say, oh, you're cheating? Like, you're like, oh, I know you had these cards. As they're doing this, basically, they realise that she can't read these cards, so they lose the bet, and basically they agree that they've got to pay 40 grand. So they go to leave, and Bunny is at this point incredibly drunk.
But he still allows her to drive.
Yes, yeah. He mentions that she's going to drive home, which I hear about this in the country apparently a lot. People tend to do this, and it's like, that's a terrible idea, just because, don't expect that somebody's going to be coming around the corner. Like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't do that. we Pat and Julian basically come in to sort of their disc has run out, or disc 1 has run out, so they say they need disc 2 for friends, and Alison basically is telling them, no, you've just cost me 40 grand essentially. And Julian, as he sees they're going, he drops an offhand comment basically just about a bank account in Fiji. And
I just want to interrupt though. I like a rule for everyone.
Yeah.
Julian says, never play someone who can afford to lose.
That is true.
And I thought that was really wise words. Wise words. But yeah, sorry, the bank account in Fiji.
No, it is quite a wise sentence, essentially. I hadn't thought about that.
Should always follow that advice.
Yeah. But yeah, so he mentions about a bank account in Fiji, and Alison sort of clocks onto this, and as they're about to leave, she says, "Oh, I'll bank transfer it to you. Which one shall it be, to your normal account or your bank account in Fiji?" And he sort of freezes on the spot and immediately drops the matter and is just like, it's fine. You can still use this. It's all okay.
Well, he says he'll sign over access rights.
Yes, yeah.
So he really doesn't want anyone to know about his bank account in Fiji.
Very illegal. But anyway, that solves their problem. And to solve their other problem, one of Barclay's bitches decides to destroy the pigeon in the most brutal fashion.
Did we then get to see the ghost pigeon at any point?
Oh, that's... Yeah, because there's a ghost pigeon later on, isn't there? Yeah. Sorry, spoilers for everybody. There is a ghost pigeon, but yeah, that makes sense as to why, yeah. I hadn't thought about that before, yeah. It's probably... At the time, we probably realised that, but I completely forgot why there was a ghost pigeon. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, the dog solves that problem. We then see the ghosts complaining about not having another episode of Friends to watch, with the captain saying,
"Can I be any more vexed?"
Which I thought was quite a good joke. Pat sees Robin still looking a bit upset.
You're right, mate. What is it? About the moon. Why'd you care so much?
Before you was Moonah. Before house was Moonah. Everything come, everything go, but always there. Moonah.
The only thing that's been here as long as you have.
We then see Pat talking to Robin, as we heard in the clip, and Robin sort of explains that the moon means a lot to him because of, how it's the only thing older than him in this in this place. So it's quite a comforting thing, I suppose, to him. Again, it sort of furthers that thing that Robin is the most, even though everyone takes the mick out of him for having like a bad way of speaking, says me. But you know what I mean? Like he struggles to get his words out. He's actually quite complex and quite insightful on a lot of things. And yeah, the more you sort of get to know him, the more you see that. But yeah, so
I think just going back to that, like people who, I don't know, maybe I'm like thinking too much into this, but like people get called like, oh, he is a caveman, like someone who's like not very emotional, like quite I can't think of what I'm trying to say really, but do you know what I mean? Like people use that as like an insult, oh, he's such a caveman, whereas actually like Robin is really emotional and like in touch with his emotion. I'm explaining this in a really bad way, but hopefully it's coming across what I'm trying to say, that like people use that as like an insult for someone who's not emotional or not sort of a bit like a thug, or do you know what I mean? Whereas actually Robin's quite the opposite, where he's quite thoughtful.
Well, you have to think he's probably like 10,000 years old. He's never read a book in his life because he literally can't. There weren't books when he was there. But he's had 10,000 years of like just existing and seeing things change and all these different things. So he's going to be wise. He's just not going to be intelligent, you know what I mean?
Book smart.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He's street smart, yeah. Or cave smart, I don't know.
Cave smart, yeah.
But anyway, Pat goes to speak to him, and Pat then goes to Alison later on and explains that that Robin is upset that his moon ritual hasn't gone to plan this evening. So once Barclay and Bunny have left, Alison goes and is going to help them out, basically. So Alison and Mike take the sofa outside to put, basically, so they can all look at the moon. I like how Mike is like, "Oh, are the ghosts coming out now?" Or and they're already sat on the sofa. Yeah. And we basically see, essentially, it kind of looks like, I mean, it is. It's the opening,
a reference.
Yeah, it's the opening to Friends, essentially, here, is they're all sat on a sofa in front of a fountain.
Yeah.
And, even, turning a light out is like a reference to it.
It's a theme tune, isn't it? It's like the last scene of the last scene. Oh, I can't get my words out today. The last sort of part of the theme tune is when they're all sat on the sofa. Yeah. Again, no Humphrey.
Yeah, no Humphrey, yeah. And then we finally finish it off by another Friends reference. Is Thomas turns to Alison and says, "Pray tell, how you doing?" So, mate, so definitely is the Joey of the group. And Alison sort of tells him to back it in.
Yeah.
That's the end of the episode. What do you think?
I quite enjoyed this episode, actually. I thought it was good. I really like exploring Robin's story and how he sort of lives by the moon kind of thing, because that's a running theme for Robin, isn't it, throughout the whole thing, where he sort of like is... Oh, I'm so bad with my words today. I just cannot think what I'm trying to say. Or just how he's so in touch with the moon. Like, it's quite spiritual.
Yeah.
Which I quite like. So, I mean, do you want me to give my...
your rating.
My rating?
Go on, yeah. You go for your rating and I'll go for what I thought as well.
Okay. So, my rating is... I'm going to say... It is...
Do you want to add a drum roll from this part?
7.5.
7.5? Fair enough. That's pretty high, I think, for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, considering like how low the other episodes that I've rated were. But I think I just found this episode had a bit more depth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. Because I was just thinking then, I'm like, well, how is that episode any different to the other episodes that I rated quite low? But I think it's sort of introducing to it more characters that aren't like obviously main characters, but they're feature throughout the rest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I just I felt it was quite fast paced, but then so were the others. It's really weird, but I just enjoyed that a lot.
I suppose it's similar to what I've put on here as well. Like a lot of the stuff in this, where it feels like even if it's the same formula, with this, you get Barclay, who's introduced, who is a running character. So you kind of know. This is an important part of like the development of like, you know, other characters that are in. But yeah, I thought it was a solid episode. I like the introduction of Barclay, who's just so easy to root against. He's like not a villain, as like he's like not like doing anything that's absolutely evil.
I can't.
He was in. The only thing I remember him from is, you know, the Peep Show episode where
yes,
where Mark is going to propose. In the Cotswolds, and they're like in the opposite.
Yes. Yeah. I knew it was Peep Show, but I just couldn't place where he was.
That's the only thing
I couldn't get Sophie's dad out of my head, and I was like, it's not Sophie's dad, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know him from anything else. That's the only thing I know him from. But he's got more of a role in this, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, so I liked that
agrees.
I liked the moon ritual scene as well. I just thought that was like a perfect example of just how infuriating it would be to be able to see the ghosts, but nobody else can. And I quite liked them being introduced to TV and watching TV, because that can become a running joke as well.
Yeah.
Later on. So yeah, just a solid episode. So I for that reason, I gave it a 7. That kind of just decent, not amazing, but like pretty decent episode. The audience score from IMDb with 761 votes is a 7.9. Now, I had a look at just what other scores were for the IMDb scores. Very similar throughout the entire series.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, I don't know how...
It takes an average, though, surely.
It takes an average from those. I wonder if it's because it's quite a small sample size, though. Like 700 people is probably...
It's not a lot when you think of how many people watched the episode.
It's probably going to be mainly fans as well. So yeah, I don't think there's anything that goes below like a 7.5. So I think we might have to break tradition with some of the scores just to just be more honest, I suppose.
Well, I think we have been, though, haven't we?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, back to our looking at haunted buildings segment.
Okay.
What a terrible name.
We need a name.
Series 2.
We're going to come up
We're going to come up with a name.
Even if it's terrible, I'll come up with a...
Can anyone else come up with a name?
Yeah.
Make some suggestions of what we could call this.
Yeah, any suggestions, let us know. I will make a jingle for it. Whether it'll be good, I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, so in this segment, so this episode, after your Cannock Chase episode last week, I am sticking to tradition and I'm picking a building, because that is what we agreed at the beginning of the series, even though you decided not to stick to that.
Okay.
And I have...
Technically, there was an Iron Age force that Ghost just decided to get out of it.
Yeah. So I decided to have a look at the Grand Theatre in Wolverhampton. So we've frequented the Grand Theatre.
We have. We have. Have we seen any plays or anything with ghosts in them?
No.
I know a ghost story's coming to Wolverhampton. Is it Wolverhampton?
Yeah. Soon. Maybe it's even there now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's quite a lot of... They've had a lot of ghost things there. So the Grand Theatre first opened its doors in 1894 and still retains its magnificent Victorian facade. The theatre has played host to many glittering stars over the years, including a young Charlie Chaplin in 1902, who, according to recent evidence, may have been born locally in Smethwick at what is now Black Patch Park. I don't know where that is, do you?
No, I don't really know Smethwick too well.
No.
I knew the Charlie Chaplin thing because in the Wetherspoons opposite, it has a like facts on the wall about Wolverhampton, and that's one of the facts. So I remember seeing that one in there.
I wonder if there's any haunted Wetherspoons.
I mean...
It's got to be.
It's haunted by just sadness, I think.
Probably. In common with many other theatres, the Grand Theatre is allegedly haunted by at least 2 ghosts.
At least?
At least. The most well-known apparition here is one Mr. Percy Purdy. He was the manager for some years in the early part of the 20th century. Purdy had a reputation of being a man of habit, and his ghost seems to have followed suit, walking around the building at the end of a busy day, and he still likes to keep an eye on productions. He has been seen on numerous occasions, including by one of the cleaners in the auditorium. As she looked at the immaculately dressed gentleman, he simply vanished away in front of her. He was also seen at the end of the day making his way to the old downstairs bar where he liked to pour himself a whiskey. He also lived on the upper floors of the theatre and stayed there until after he retired. Over the years, staff have reported footsteps, figures appearing in doorways, locked doors seeming to have unlocked themselves, and items such as bar furniture and glasses having changed positions when the staff members had turned their back.
Do they think that that's that Percy that's still
I think
involved?
so, yeah. But what I found interesting was glasses have moved, doors have unlocked themselves, yet we know from our ghosts at Button House that they find it difficult to move and touch things.
Yeah, he's a poltergeist then. They can touch things, can't they? And,
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a difference. I thought there was the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought that ghost was the same word as... I thought it was like poltergeist.
I think all poltergeist means is like it's German for like angry ghost or noisy ghost or something like that. I think that's all it is. But like they can pick things up. I mean, this is in like films and stuff. You know what I mean? But I just find it funny that the guy who's like ordered and likes to keep a tight ship like this like keeps
Maybe
moving
he just
stuff
wants
around.
to be seen and heard and noticed and you know. So the second reported ghost at the Grand has not actually been seen, but she makes her presence felt through the strong smell of lavender perfume and a distinct chill. She is sometimes known as the Lavender Lady. This lady is often experienced around the stage area where the story goes that she was killed in a fall. Stories vary as to who she was and how she came to fall, but in one version she fell from the stage, and in another she is alleged to have been the former mayoress of the town and fell from one of the boxes above.
So not an actor then, just...
No. I wonder what she was doing, leaning over too far maybe.
I mean, I always worry about that whenever I lean at the top of the Grand.
It's very steep, isn't it?
It is quite steep, yeah.
The area of the dress circle closest to this and the box itself are the places where people have observed a sudden chill and the scent of lavender. One half of comedy duo Little and Large, Sid Little, had a feeling that he was not alone one night when performing at the theatre in the 1970s. Attending a party in the upstairs bar, he was directed to the nearest toilet, probably the last place you'd want to be haunted.
In the toilet, yeah.
He said at the time, "It was all in darkness and I had a very cold feeling beside me. I had a very strong feeling that someone was there and I knew nothing about the ghost at the time. I don't believe in that sort of thing, but I was terrified. I couldn't get out quick enough." And then actor Victor Spinetti, I don't know if that's
Victor Spinetti, yeah, I'm not sure.
Who starred in several of the Beatles films, came to the Grand many times and recalled once walking into his L-shaped dressing room and starting a conversation with a woman he had glimpsed going into the corner, and he took it to be a cleaner. Receiving no response, he looked again and found nobody there at all. So... when the coronavirus pandemic was at its peak and many theatres, including the Grand Theatre, were closed down for months, one light was left on in the Grand Theatre to follow a long tradition and superstition of keeping the theatre ghosts at peace. So they said that they put one light on the stage so that if the ghosts wanted to have a performance... whilst the theatre was closed, that they had the light on them like they would normally when they were on stage.
So that makes a lot of sense now, because they do that on Only Murders in the Building, didn't they? They put a light in the middle. I didn't even cotton onto that, but yeah, that makes sense. I know there's loads of like superstitions with theatre, and you can't say... That's why they say break a leg instead of good luck, because that's bad luck and all this stuff. So there's all weird
superstitions.
Weird stuff,
yeah, I thought it was a very interesting building, and we'll definitely get our noses ready to smell the lavender lady when we next go to the Grand.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Why?
Just get our noses ready for. I was like, anyway. So so there's those are the two ghosts that they've sort of but there could be more. It says at least.
At least two.
Could be an audience full of ghosts.
Oh, don't.
Right. Made the next theatre visit quite a problem. Anyway, that's the end of our episode. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can on our social media. We use Instagram, which is at hauntingbuttonhouse, and also you can email us hauntingbuttonhouse@outlook.com.
Yeah.
I have to pause and think, which service did we sign up for? But you can also see all of our links below on the podcast notes. So yeah, you can just click there and get in touch with us. Next week, we are looking at the final episode of Series 1, Getting Out. So, what could that be? We already know, but we'll pretend we don't. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this week, and we'll speak to you next time. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Haunting Button.
Whoa.
I've done it again.
We've gone back in time.
Right, it's not the first episode.
Hello and welcome to Haunting Button House, the episode, the podcast that reviews something.
You can do these intros next.
Next series.